Hey, welcome back, guys. Episode 24 of the 5-Star Podcast. And today we have a special guest, Brian Shew. He's with RDS. And we're going to start with that.
How's it going, Brian?
Great. How are you guys doing?
Good. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming.
Hey, glad to have you inviting. So I love joining these things and sharing my thoughts and sharing like what I know about the market and what I know about, especially student housing. So, because I have a lot of experience in that. Right. Yeah. Like I really started my career. I grew up in Chinatown. So
nice. Like
downtown Toronto, Chinatown. So like near U of T. Did property management for like old Chinese guys. I can't speak English, so I had to rent it out. Yeah. So I had to rent out those properties for them, and then eventually I segued into selling pre-construction condominiums for developers. And then because back then like it was hard for me to find jobs, right? And my boss Hunter Milbourne would never give me the downtown quality sites. So I was doing like out of town student housing, did one in Ottawa, Kingston, Ontario, Hamilton, so I did a lot of student housing.
This is when you were at Milbourne, right?
Yeah.
Brian. Before we dive into that, how old did you start?
I started when you guys started. Like we were 20.
Yeah.
20, we were like
right out of school,
like 18, 19. Like when I saw this guy, he was in Trade World, right?
Same.
Yeah. But I bet you guys were in Trade World. We were going to like these events, and we
don't know what we're doing at all.
No, it's great. Like finally we reconnected, and you have like this wonderful career behind you. And
you've definitely taken a different path than a lot of the other realtors. You started off completely different than what we started off with. Like you said, me and Steve, we started off in Trade World. We don't know what we were doing. We're just kind of there, right? Product. Everyone started off just kind of like really green. And then you started off kind of in the rental aspect of it rather than the resale, right?
Well, I had no choice. Yeah. I gotta make an income for myself. So you have to start off somewhere, and starting with the rentals is how you do it. Like back then, like you go
even
on
today too. Yeah.
Today, like back then, I would go on Kijiji. Honestly, have a fake ad. I didn't have a listing. I just said I had a listing and rent it out.
Guilty of that for sure.
Isn't that the common practice to start your career, anyways?
No. But going on Kijiji and
start, right?
Grabbing other people's stuff and posting it. That's how you do it, right?
No. We all know common courtesy is you ask for permission. You ask, hey,
you can borrow your own office listing too.
That's true. Yeah.
Back then, it was just totally allowed. I had no idea what I was doing, so I just grabbed everyone's until they said I had to take it out
without permission.
But there were a number of times where I run into Brian, and he'd be sitting at a site, a pre-construction, representing the builder.
I think that's later though. Yeah.
Was that later?
Where he started?
It was pretty early. Like I only did resale for like 1 or 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah. But in 08, the market was bad. So I had to switch my career into rentals and switch it into rentals for builders. Oh. So I was renting out buildings at a time.
I didn't know that.
But before 2008, you were at like certain sites, like you were like a site manager.
Correct. Yeah. But I had to pivot and switch it up instead of selling for builders. I was renting and selling. Not really selling, more renting.
Yeah. Right. Smart.
Right. We're renting buildings at a time.
Yeah.
Right. That was the purpose because you can't sell anymore. Well, let's rent it out for a year and sell it next year. Right.
That's right.
Like the builders have to pivot, and so do we.
Yeah.
Right. So
that's interesting. Actually, what's the qualifying process that you guys go through?
Same thing as you guys. I was just, cowboying it, grabbing, hey, give me the rental application, give me this, give me that, qualifying everything. And then, I was renting out like 200 units.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a lot of
paperwork.
for building.
For
it's
sure.
like property management services, right?
That's crazy. So under the seller would be the builder. Like
correct.
I see. So it's not like individual owners or anything.
I was doing both.
You're doing both.
Yeah, because we actually got the builder to use their legal team to send out a letter. During interim occupancy, the builder owns the building. So the legal letter sends to the builder to the client or the owner saying, if you want to rent out your unit on MLS, you got to use Brian Shew.
You know what? I run into that a lot. Nice. No, that's the same thing with certain builders. They're feeding their own people, like because they have their own realtor division.
Yeah.
Right. and they're just like, okay, make sure it's only this person leasing it out.
I did that 15 years ago.
That's right.
And then I kind of spread the news, and it was actually a bad thing. Shouldn't have let them know that this is what you can do.
Now it's like cornering the market. So they
on my side, like what happens is you actually protect the builder's interest, right? Because how do I know that you're not leasing it out on a piece of paper or napkin? Like who's the qualified tenants, right? And if there's a default, what happens is the developer gets the tenant. And the developer gets this tenant that they have no clue about. But if you do it directly with, the representative, they have all the files.
So you centralize the process and have everything in control. So
and I give the tenant's information to the property manager.
Got it.
Right? To call the property manager so we know who the residents are.
The proper route,
The proper route. Because, like, no offense, but you can't trust all realtors to give those information to the property manager.
Most times it doesn't.
And for the builder side, we now know who's an investor and now who deserves their HST and not.
Retarget them afterwards too, right? Because now that you have all the info, when their lease is up, hey, do you want to, like, you guys just kind of drip and say...
My business was never about stealing other realtors' business.
Yeah.
Right. My business was always working on the developer side. So after the 1 year, like, hey, you guys take it, man. Nothing to do with me. I'm not here to take your business. Right.
Well, you got tons of experience just from that 1 to 2 years anyways, because you're doing so many leases.
Correct.
It's great because like for a lot of agents that are kind of like finding their own way, you're just getting funneled and you're just doing it over and over. Right. You're just churning it.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, that's the way you have to do it, right? You have to do everything in scale.
Yeah.
Right. In my business, we do everything in scale.
Yeah.
Like I'm not here to sell one unit. If a developer comes to me, hey, I have 20 units in my building. Can you sell it? Can you lease it? No. Give me like 400.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? So let's talk about for all the listeners out there. So why student housing investment versus the traditional single family, rentals? Why student housing specifically?
Well, it's a different segment. Like I wouldn't say it's better than others, but it comes down to the fundamental of real estate. Yeah, that is what student housing is, right? If you actually like where I started was property management for Chinatown owners. They didn't speak English, so they couldn't get tenants. They can't even property manage. They can't they don't know how to do anything. They couldn't communicate. Right. So back then you would buy a house and you would buy it for like $700,000-800,000, but you would make 15 bedrooms. Yeah, because they were pretty big houses. They're like 3,000 square feet, so you can get 15 bedrooms.
Chop it up.
That sounds like Chinatown.
Slice it up.
Legally, how can they get away with that?
It wasn't legal. Come on.
Legal.
You answered your own question.
Yeah, it wasn't legal, but 15 bedrooms back then the rental rates were probably about $550 to $600 a bedroom. Yeah. Right. But you do the math, like, hey,
I know
it's 5 times 15 is what, 7,500.
The return
rent back in the day. That's a lot of money.
Back in the day,
Hey, but what's interesting is everyone knows everyone's doing the same thing, but it's the hustle that no one complains. But certain neighborhoods around the city, there's a lot of Brads and Karens. They're going to complain. They're not going to let you have all that rental income and all the fire codes and all the violations.
You talking about the NIMBY?
The NIMBYs, yeah, exactly.
There's always going to be some, but like Chinatown, I'm pretty sure back then it was just
it's like a mutual respect.
There was a lot of Hongkongese people, right? Like probably a lot of people from Hong Kong.
It was actually more China people, because the Hong Kong people could speak English, so I couldn't get that business.
So the owners are like new money, or would you say old money? Like they it's passed on from.
No, these guys were like grinders. These guys worked at the supermarket as the fish guy, as like the cashier. They would work 80 hours a week. They would buy a house and they would room their house out themselves.
Right. And they live in a room.
They live in one of the whole family lives in a room.
Just chop it up and rent it.
That's respect, man, right there.
Yeah. They grinded really hard.
The back in the day.
That's how most of our family grew up.
We all kind of grew up.
When I started, like my house on Augusta, like when I was growing up, I slept in I didn't. My whole family slept in the basement.
Right.
Like my family slept in the basement, and the ground floor, second and third floor was rented out.
Right.
Like that's how we all started.
But at the end of the day, it's cash flow strong. And then that's a good investment.
Yeah, right? $7,500 need the cash flow because you can't live without it.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're only making $5-6 an hour in cash. Yeah. Right? Like how do you live if you don't do that?
Yeah. True.
And you bought the house.
Yeah. Was that the minimum wage back then? It was $5-6.
You don't
like
remember?
$6.40.
You trying to act like you're all youngins?
Back in
I am young. What are you talking about?
This guy's millennial.
No. Wait, back in the day, like what? That was 20 years ago.
Yeah, about 20. No.
You're not 20 years
25 years ago.
1990s.
25
Okay,
years
it was like
ago
640.
640.
Yeah, 640.
What year were you born?
Come on, man. Come on.
No, Richard grew up in a rich family. He doesn't know. He's like, what?
He's like, what is
$5
minimum
an hour?
wage? What are you
My parents made 40.
That's a
You guys slept in the basement? What?
No, I just remember when like food was a lot more affordable back then. Like I think when I went to school, like McDonald's was like what, $4 or something.
yeah, combos.
Hey, $2 Big Mac, man. $2 Big Mac.
Yeah,
What's
$2.
Man,
Trump, nothing trumped that. It was the
50-cent
best.
gas, man.
Hey, you know what? There was a period in time where I didn't have to pack lunch for school. Like I just go to McDonald's, like you said,
Because it was affordable.
It was affordable.
Yeah.
It was that good.
I would pack a banh mi and trade it to the white guys.
Yo, it was like $1. The one on Spadina specifically is I still go there sometimes. $1 a bun. $1.
Correct.
I was like, that's so
So
good.
I thought
$20
was
was like
$1 bun?
For sure.
no for the whole sandwich
That's-
for the bun for the bun.
Yeah, but
Right, that was
that's-
back in the day.
But that's the stuff
Now,
your parents wouldn't
when we grew up,
buy.
when
Oh,
we
you
grew
still
up.
go? Okay, you still go now.
Now it's like
It's like $2.50.
$4.
$3, $4. Yeah,
No, it's
exactly.
$4.
$4. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the time difference.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But speaking back to Chinatown, that's how people grinded, and that's how people they gain equity and they gain cash flow by doing this. And my clients bought one house, turned into two, turned into three, and now they own 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
Right, and they do the property management, and you know, like now the rents are like $1,000 a room.
It's crazy.
Right. And then now they're upgrading their properties to like, instead of having 14 bedrooms with 4 bathrooms, now they have 15 bedrooms with actually like
En-suites.
11 of them en suite.
Yeah.
Right. So now they're
still,
all,
Yeah, 'cause
they're
you can
still
get more.
keeping the
You can-
15.
they're still keeping the 15, but they add bathrooms. So they make the rooms smaller because now, you know, you don't need as big bedrooms anymore
Yeah,
because the market has changed. Right. But you need a nicer place because people complain, like you said.
Yeah.
Right. And then now you add more services and now you can expand and build. And now they do it in the lane house.
Yeah.
They build
Yeah,
lane
that's
houses
true.
doing
That's
this now. So now they're cash flow from 7,500. Now they're actually cash flowing 12,000,
Right.
12,000, 15,000 for
Moving up in line.
It's insane, man.
That's
What's
per
the
property
inflation,
too, right?
that's per property.
Yeah, per property.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's per property. And like back then, like, you know, these guys are smart. Like they're smart on saving money. Like, you know, like usually when you change tenants, you got to change the locks.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you change a lock, that's normal, right? Especially in a house.
Yep.
Well, do you know how we change the locks? Well,
Swap
room
keys.
1 goes to room 2, 2 goes to 3, 3 goes to 4. Just rotate around.
That's actually really smart because now you're just like all you need is a screwdriver. You just go in there, boom, boom, boom.
That's a lot of work.
$25 a door, right? The door is $25. You
Yeah.
guys, how many doors do you have?
That's
Now,
true.
now,
right?
now you're gonna ruin it for some of the owners there. They're gonna start like trying different keys. Hey, this one works.
Where do you see most of the students coming from, the student population?
Well,
With the
back-
highest demand
back-
for renting?
Back then was Chinese, right? Back then was the Chinese, the people from China. Actually, in the student housing market, in around Chinatown was actually more Caucasian, was more Canadians
Okay.
because they didn't want to pay the condominium rents.
Right.
Right. That is like China Central.
Yeah.
The basement is full of Lamborghinis. Right? G-Wagons, Lamborghinis. like,
you know it,
That's the
man.
norm.
Yeah, I know.
that's the norm, right?
know.
Because actually the parents come here and they say, hey, why would I buy a crappy car when it's like I'm saving money, right? By buying an expensive car. Because in China, it's $1 million.
Yeah.
Here's 400,000. It's like, oh, I'm saving
Yeah, the luxury
600,000.
tax there is like tremendous. Like maybe two or 3x.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they come here and they buy these expensive cars for their kids so they can drive when they come here.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, because they feel like they're saving money.
Yeah.
Yeah, to them it's value, right? Like everybody's looking for the same thing, value, right?
Yeah.
Like if you actually look at, so the houses are actually, they're really hard to sell because they're rooming house and you can't get mortgages on rooming house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But now I've segued into my industry into student housing for condominiums.
Mm.
So when I sold Theory, I was actually the highest selling price condominium in all of GTA.
Mm-hmm.
I was the first one to break 1,000 a foot.
Right.
Right. And Noble was $950 at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
But that's very logical. As their manager, they would be the negotiating.
Yeah.
Well, they're getting equity without putting money.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
right?
There
So
you
why
go.
not?
Yeah,
Why not?
risk free to them. It's
Or they're
hey,
getting a condo.
Right.
Yeah,
Or, yeah,
Positive,
like,
whatever they're getting
Yeah.
something
They're
by
getting
using their
something.
name.
They're getting
Exactly.
something. Yeah.
Exactly. It's just like licensing your name. That's the
Yeah.
deal. Licensing.
And for the developer, they don't have cash out.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
true.
Right?
Totally.
There's no cash out.
100%.
Because if you're not paying him, you're giving him a portion when it's closing.
Yeah, any celebrity endorsement has some kind of impact, right, on the sale.
Yeah.
Because it's better than commercial. Like one person saying
It's like, yo, Scotty Barnes here.
that's right.
Yeah, it's my
That's the
neighbor.
pitch.
Yeah, although
the
you'll never
pitch.
see him, but he is in the building.
I remember. I don't. I
That's
forget
one
the
of his
name.
units.
I
Yeah.
forget the
Yeah.
names. Like they were doing a bunch of that with Shangri-La. Like that was there were a bunch of celebrities there.
But talk a little bit about I guess just to backtrack a little bit. So you were at Milbourne. You were there for a couple of years. and then-
15 maybe?
yeah. So
Yeah.
what were you doing at Milbourne actually?
Well, I was a manager, VP, whatever you want to call me, account holder,
Okay.
and I was selling condominiums for developers, right?
Nice.
So, I didn't get the, fancy downtown sites. So I was selling sites out of town.
Yeah.
Right. But a lot of town sites, like they were tough back then. Like it wasn't like now where out of town sites are selling.
Yeah. That's true.
Right. Like back then, downtown sites were selling.
Yeah.
So we had to find a special way to sell them.
Mhm.
And we took on projects that were like next to a lot of universities. So we did
Right.
Waterloo.
Mhm.
I have a big market share in Waterloo, probably own like close to half of the market in Waterloo for student housing. And then we did Kingston, Ontario. We did one in Ottawa.
Mhm.
Now we're going to do one in London, Hamilton.
Cambridge, yeah.
Yeah,
everywhere.
all over Ontario, as
Just
long
target
as
the
it's next to a school.
universities and colleges, really, right?
Well, there's a market for it because the fundamentals make sense, right? Back to like my early career when I was doing property management for these Chinese guys, they had cash flow.
Right.
But now, like, the problem is, those guys had to put in a lot of work.
Mhm.
I would get a call every week back then
Right.
from tenants on like stupid shit.
Yeah.
There's a cockroach.
That's what you signed up for.
Yeah, you are
renting
paying
basements.
$400 a room, so
Yeah, you rented a basement, apartments.
What do you expect?
You got caught
Like
working.
100-year-old,
You got caught
100-year-old
working.
building,
You gotta-
man.
yeah.
True.
Actually, question for you, because you said that when you were selling the property down by college, and Nobu was selling for $950, and you were selling over $1,000. Why were people buying? What's the difference actually between, like, say, a regular condo versus like?
Well, it's the fundamentals, and people like don't forget, like, people, the educated people know how important schooling is, especially for their kids, right? So they're thinking like, fuck, number one, the rental market's crazy around schools. If you look at GTA, or not GTA, Toronto, right, where is the highest rents? It's all around U of T.
of course.
Bay Streets,
Yeah.
Bloor Streets,
College.
and College.
Yeah.
Right? They're the highest rents.
It's basically recession proof, those ones.
Correct. They're recession proof.
Because
right?
like regardless of how the economy is, kids still gotta go to school. They still gotta live.
And if you get fired from your job, where do you go?
Go back to school.
You go back to school.
Yeah. That's
Right? Well, you're a realtor, but like normal people, they go back to school.
Yeah.
Right? They upgrade their knowledge, right? To
come back stronger.
correct.
Right?
Right.
It's recession
So
proof. You're right.
it's recession proof, right? And that's the whole pitch. It's like you always need schooling. And the schools are in the business. People are like, okay, help with student residents, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So there is a student resident thing, but the school is only building the minimal student residents to get by with the government.
Yeah.
They're not making money from it.
Do you have any idea what that percentage might be for like the minimum requirement for a university?
It's like probably less than 10%.
Wow.
Yeah,
So if it's like 100,000 students, they're only building like 10% of that.
100,000 to
So like
10,000. Yeah,
10,000.
it's around there.
Yeah.
U of T is around there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they don't have the
Right.
real estate to build more. That's the problem.
They
right?
have the real estate. They don't want to build more.
Well, they
why
want
would
they
they,
want to use
right?
it for studies.
Yeah,
for
they
school,
wanna
for
build
academics,
buildings
not for
and stuff,
housing,
right?
right?
Right? Look, it's
They
Vegas.
own so much.
Yeah.
But
Even Ryerson and TMU, I see them just building like buildings now. Like it's.
Well, I think TMU is a little
crazy.
bit more. They're trying to build more facilities, more.
I see every university doing the same thing. York is doing the same thing. They're always building. Like I came out
But
of
they're
York.
not building housing, are they?
No, they don't have any housing.
No, yeah.
Right?
They
It's all
depend on
new
the
buildings,
developers
all new
around.
programs
Yeah.
to accommodate more students because more students equal more money. That's
Right.
just how it is, right?
Yeah,
but
that makes sense.
but I mean, Brian brings out a interesting market because as the universities or post-secondary schools that when they're expanding, the student population is expanding. I find most of the like you said, the educated segment their families, it's wealthy. I mean, they tend to be higher income.
They're supposed to be. Yes. When they come to Toronto, number one, they're paying 3 times the price of what we would. I think it's 4 times actually.
Yeah.
The price of what we would pay for school. Like
Right. Then the local for sure.
Then the local, it's 4 times the amount.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then they had to pay for accommodations.
Yeah, so they're willing to invest, obviously, in their
In their
children.
kids, in their children.
Are you willing to invest in your children?
Of course, that
Exactly,
definitely goes
right?
across
Like,
There's no, it's like hands down, you have to, right?
And then so there's a whole student cycle of how this economy works, right? So year 1, you live on res. That's
Yep.
just kind of standard,
That's standard
right? Year 2 and 3 is when you actually rent a big house with your friends.
with your friends.
right? And you party your face off, right? You have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then when you have to get smart with your studies, make it into masters, become a doctor, become a lawyer, engineer, year 4, right? And then grad students, that's when you rent a condo. Because the condo market is so expensive
Right.
that, like even as a parent, it's like, okay, I'll do it if you're actually going to make it somewhere, right?
That's right.
And you actually get loans by then.
Mhm.
Like if you're becoming a doctor, you actually,
No parent can pay that off cash. Like I wouldn't say none, but like very few.
yeah, like if you're becoming a doctor and you make it into med school, you go to the bank, you're getting 300,000-400,000
Mm-hmm.
loan from the bank. Yeah. So like, and then with that 300,000-400,000, what is 40,000, 50,000
Of schooling, like housing.
of
That's not a
housing
not a big
that
deal at
lives
point.
next to the school, good accommodation, whether by yourself or with somebody. Like usually we're still social animals. So like the 2 bedrooms are actually the most popular in terms of rental and for living.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
Right.
it's definitely a good investment for on the parents' perspective. If they are in a profession like medical school or engineering, like some of these professions, if they, I actually have some clients that are in the medical field, they walk into the bank. They're able, like if they were to purchase a practice or start a new practice, they can easily walk out the bank from $2-3 million.
Yeah. Easily.
Almost 0% interest.
There's
without
very
paying,
little risk.
without even paying
There's
any
no down
deposit.
payment. Yeah, no
Yeah.
down payment, no
No down
deposit,
payment.
nothing.
Yeah.
So that's
Just based on your prestige, right? Like they know you're going to be able to pay that back.
crazy thing is, if you partner with a couple of your friends, all of a sudden you have like $6-7 million for a massive operation, like massive office.
Yeah.
So that's how you have like these group offices.
Yeah, but like so like that, actually I have a site right now called 1107 Main.
Mhm.
That's how we reconnected, right? So that site's like next to McMaster University, which is one of the best healthcare, I guess,
Medical schools.
medical
Right,
schools
right.
out
Yeah.
there, right? So
So according to this, like most buyers and investors are parents buying for their children. Is that
well,
what-
it's actually medical people that are in the medical field that understand that. Oh, when I went to school, I lived in shitty accommodations,
I see.
right? Or my kid is going to school. Like I had a realtor, so he bought a condo for his kid, and his kid is going to McMaster. I'm like, hey, it's going to take 4 years to build. He's like, yeah, but my kid's going to become a doctor, so he has 6 more years after that.
But it's actually smart because like if you think 4 years plus another, like even if the kid doesn't go to med school, there's other med students coming in, right? So regardless, they're gonna find someone to take over.
I mean, it's a
the
good
space.
investment regardless because
Yeah.
you're going to have tenants that are going to want to rent there,
You're not gonna.
especially around McMaster, because McMaster has
Yeah.
a lot of old houses around,
Yeah.
and there's just really not a lot.
I've seen some of
not
the
a
old
luxurious
housing
type
too.
of-
They're pretty bad shape, but they still rent out.
Yeah,
They rent for a lot.
I know.
They're
Yeah.
$1,000 a room,
It's insane.
and you have to share accommodations.
Yeah.
And you
Sharing
can,
washrooms and stuff. It's nasty.
yeah,
you
you
gotta do
can
what you
you
gotta
can
do, right?
share.
that's gross.
You can
What can you do, right?
A condominium's a 2-bedroom, right?
Yeah.
2-bedroom. I think right now we're guaranteeing around 3,200 for a
You take
2-bedroom.
turns, Richard.
So it's 15, 16 a bedroom,
Yeah.
right? So you pay $500-600 more,
Yeah.
but you get your own bathroom,
Yeah.
and you're becoming a doctor. You're becoming an engineer. Like your parents going to fork out the money,
Yeah.
and you live next to the school anyways,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like the whole point of it is the fundamentals at the end of the day always make sense around schools.
It does.
Where do you feel the top 5 schools, universities that investors should really look into in terms of student rental housing?
If you can afford U of T, it's the most prestigious university, and you can't really go wrong with it. Like keep in mind that when you're buying a real estate investment or student housing investment, the capital appreciation is different.
Mm-hmm.
You're not in it for the capital appreciation. You're in it for the long-term equity gain,
Right.
right? Like it's actually, you're just putting something in your portfolio. Like when you're buying stocks, you buy Apple because you know it's safe, right? So this is like a blue chip safe investment,
That's right.
right? So you want to go around the best universities.
Mhm.
So which ones are the best? U of T?
UT.
UT?
Yep.
Right? And then you can McMaster, of course.
McMaster. Queens.
Right?
Queens,
Right.
yeah.
Queens or
Kingston.
London.
Yeah.
London, Ontario, Western.
Western.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now talking about Queens, right? So I did, 4 or 5 projects there,
Mm-hmm.
right? Actually, I dominated the market there too. The rental market works differently from Waterloo and it works differently from Toronto.
Mhm.
The rental market there for the students, they don't start September 1st. They start on May 1st, the rentals.
And why is that though?
When you say start, like that's when the busy season
The
for rentals,
lease
The
start
lease
date.
rate.
Lease
The
start date.
lease date start.
these dates start. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's when people are renting the unit. So
Yeah, because most of the time you're a student, you start September 1st because your class is September 7th, 8th after
Yeah.
Labor Day,
Yeah.
right? But over there in Queens, in Kingston, Ontario, it starts May 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So here's
why
why.
is that? Yeah.
Yeah, why?
Why? Because it's so sought after. Like there's so little properties to rent that students have to rent a place before they go back home
Right.
for the summer.
That's right.
So they come back and they have a place.
Oh, so they just sit vacant for the summer.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah, they go home. Like I've heard that too.
Or they sublet it, or they
No. There's no one subletting. It's just you're renting May, June, July, August. Basically, the landlord's just there chilling.
It's a placeholder because
because
They need a
but
secure
when you come
spot
back in
anyways,
September,
yeah. Like it's there.
you can't find anything.
Kingston is
you're
pretty.
done.
It's pretty
Yeah.
quiet there.
It is very, very quiet. Yeah.
Yeah.
But because
Yeah.
of that, there's very little like
Inventory.
Yeah,
accommodations.
that's why they can't really develop too much more.
So
housing there.
in Kingston, Ontario, another thing about the housing there, it's all just like kind of like what is it called? Like Hamilton. It's all around the school.
Yeah.
They actually have something called a cockroach award.
A what?
Cockroach award.
Cockroach
This
award.
is new. This
the
is new.
worst house. Right? And the students vote. Whose house is the worst?
Wow. Like in their network, like
it's
they
like
have
rate my house.
It's like a Reddit subforum.
Cockroach award.
Rate my
Are you
professor.
serious?
Rate my
I've never
professor. Rate
Rate my house.
man.
Rate my accommodations.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
that's how
crazy.
bad it is,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
And that's why these condominiums, like actually the rental rates in Kingston, Ontario, the condominiums there are very high. Like for a 1-bedroom rents for $2,000.
Holy.
Wow.
And this is
But
like
eye-opener.
think about it. This is like not Toronto, right?
Yeah.
But no, but Kingston is a pretty big employer, like city though. Right? They got the prison there, they got the airport there, they got all the hospitals around, like all the university. Obviously, it's a big employer, right? Usually, when there's a lot of employers, that's where a lot of investors want to flock because people who are highly paid, they generally have 2 or 3 people that work underneath them. So therefore, there's a lot more people that want to move into that area to get closer to work.
Yeah.
Well, just like Hamilton, people think Hamilton sounds great, but you know where the highest employers are? Is around the school. Like you have the school, you have McMaster Hospital, and you have McMaster Innovation Centers now. So you have 3 things. That's like around, I think I counted, it was around 20 to 25,000 employees. Do you have 25,000 employees downtown Hamilton?
Right.
Yeah, investing in Kingston is actually a pretty good area because if you have like a duplex, like a 2-story or even
You
multi-unit.
should do it.
No, I looked into it a lot of clients. I know. I looked into a lot of
20
clients.
students there. Come on, Rich, get in the market
let's
now.
do it.
But
And actually, the housing-
those
the housing
cockroach
market is-
award houses, they cost $1 million.
Yeah,
Man,
no,
That's
they're
crazy.
The housing
Right?
there was actually a lot more affordable a few years back,
Hmm.
but now it's gotten a lot more expensive after COVID.
And it's because of the cash flow that you're getting. Like
Exactly.
people do the math, but now there's a new segment of, hey, there's condominiums around schools where you can buy at 4, 5, 600,000.
Right.
Right. And that's what people are looking into. And don't forget, when you own a big house, there's a lot of problems and there's a lot of tenant issues. Like I said, like I would
You
get a
need a
call every
property
week.
manager, right? You have to have someone on site because so for some of the people that are investors that are in Toronto or wherever, you don't want to be driving out to Kingston every other week to fix a problem. So you need to have a property manager on site. Sure, you got to pay them a little bit, but again, like you want to be hassle free as a landlord, right?
Yeah.
You actually pay them more because of student housing.
Mhm. Oh, is it?
The property managers charge more
Well,
when it's student housing.
what would be the rate for, say, something like that?
What's a typical rate and what's the rate for?
Well, like a
student housing
typical rate
management?
for student housing would be 10 to 12%,
Okay.
right?
Right.
But like in a condominium, it's around 6%.
Okay.
Would be
So
the typical rate. Like
if
a property
it's-
manager
yeah,
for
right.
a condo is around 6%.
Yeah, so I think some of the listeners can definitely grasp some of the value, because again, your time is worth way more than that extra little 5-6%. It's not a big deal.
Oh, trust me, it's worth it.
It is 100% worth it. Like you
Yeah.
need someone there. To
I mean, you can
look
ask
after your
Brian. I'm
stuff.
sure he got a lot of calls. If you own that many rooms or that many units,
Yeah.
and you have to manage every single one of them, forget about it.
Even
man.
if it's
That
just
was
3
per
units,
house.
right?
One call per week per house.
Jesus.
Per
per
cockroach.
house.
What do you even do? Like when someone complains about a cockroach, you're gonna go there and kill it or something? I don't.
Yeah, you go there with your little spray bottle. You spray
that
the
makes
corners
sense.
for
That
you.
makes
Like,
So actually, Brian, talk about more because your projects offer a lot of rental guarantees and property management. So how does that work?
so we offer the guarantee because it's actually it's like a real but not really a cash promotion for us.
Mhm.
Because what happens is we actually rent them out at the rate.
Right.
Like, so there's no
Like
money
market
being
rate.
lost.
You guys have
Yeah.
no loss.
There's no
Landlords
loss.
have no loss.
But it's not
Correct.
an additional fee for the investor, right?
No, we include it.
It's built into the price.
Yeah, we
Right.
actually include furniture too, because
Yeah,
what happens
that's
is,
the thing.
actually,
So it's fully furnished.
fully
these units.
furnished.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's how you get higher rental rates, right?
I see.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
turnkey.
that's definitely.
Turnkey.
Well, they just got to move their stuff in, right?
Well, furniture is like what, 3,000-4,000 these
That's not a
days.
big deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really more like 5,000 these days because of
Yeah.
COVID, right?
Yeah.
And you need a moving truck, and like if
Again,
you're,
if you're out of town, you don't want to deal with any of that. right?
correct, like
Yeah.
your kids go to U of T or whatever, like not U of T. If they go to Kingston, Ontario, you don't want to spend $7,000 on furniture and moving costs
Mhm.
when the rent is like $200, $300, $400 more. You're like, just take the $400
Yeah. Yeah.
per year. It's
Yeah,
better, right?
Of course.
Yeah, it's just easier, and so we include the furniture, so we get higher rental rates,
Mhm.
and then we include the property management. So the property management is easy for us because we run the whole building,
That's right. Yeah.
True.
right?
Yeah.
So it's actually a package deal.
It's a great service because for a landlord, you want that security. Like you buy something, someone's going to manage it for you. You're
Hands
pretty
free.
much guaranteed.
Hands free. Yeah. Just
Hands
take care of
free.
it.
Someone's taking care
Just
of
give
it
me
for
my
you.
checks. Right.
So when
Yeah,
you
you
say
get
rental
your
guarantee,
checks.
though, what does that mean exactly?
So we guarantee the minimum amount.
Which is average right now for 1 and 2 bedrooms. What are they?
So the 1 bedrooms would be actually, because we're talking about 4 years from now,
Mhm.
usually. So right now would be 2,500
Okay.
for a 1 bedroom. 2 bedrooms would be like 32, 33,
Mhm.
right? So something like that. And 1+10s are in between.
Yeah.
Right? So 27, 28.
And
something
you'd
like
say
that.
like the vacancy rate is very low for those.
Zero. Zero.
It's high
Zero
demand.
vacancy rate.
Well, if the houses have zero, then how can
Right.
a condo not have zero?
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Like
The demand's so high. Like, so the guarantee is whether you have
You're
a
in a
student
better
in there or
accommodation.
not. It doesn't matter if someone's in there or not. It's, the investor's guaranteed $3,200 a month for 2 years, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, you have 100,000 students, right? Like let's say UT.
It's very
let's
low
say
risk
let's
for
say
you guys,
Hamilton.
too.
You have 35,000 students.
Okay.
3,500 of them live on res.
Okay.
Now you have another call it 30,000 people.
Yeah.
Your condominium has 300
I
units.
know.
Let's times that by 2. Let's say they're all
man.
two bedrooms.
I know.
600 units. 600
Yeah.
residents in the building. You're trying to fish 600
Massive
people
shortage, bro.
Out of
out of 30,000?
Yeah.
30,000.
Massive. That's a problem.
That's a
Plus
big
there's
problem.
faculty members. There's all this other
Yeah,
shit that
yeah.
you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
and
like,
then the doctors,
so-
the nurses who work there.
All
the
the
innovation.
neighboring areas must actually be impacted then for sure.
Well, of course.
Always. Yeah.
Off-campus housing. I mean, where do you go? You go to next to house.
Well, it's not just not just in the area, like say McMaster area.
Yeah.
And then they have
the surrounding area.
yeah,
you're saying.
the surrounding areas
Yeah.
in Hamilton that also get
Oh, yeah.
impacted.
No, but when there's a big drop off in walking distance. Once you cannot walk to the school, your rent significantly drop off.
Oh.
So what are we talking about, kilometer or minute wise? What's
10-minute
considered?
walk would be max.
No,
No, more
probably
than
like
that.
15, 20.
15,
Yeah, 20 minutes.
Yeah, 15, 20 is like,
Yeah.
The border.
the max. Like 20 would be the max.
Yeah, yeah,
but
I
there's
mean,
always a bus route too.
But
I
you
mean,
can
come on.
imagine, like in the winter
McMaster.
time, it's gonna be like hell for to walk more than 20 minutes.
When you're 18, It's different.
If you're 18 and you're poor, and you grind that out.
I guess.
We've all done it. We've all done stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, for some of the kids now probably complain, but
usually the condominiums
do
are
it.
so close to the school because that's how you get density.
Exactly.
They're close to the school that like they're the best locations across from the school. Like Theory Condos is literally you can throw a tennis ball and you're going to hit the engineering building.
That's crazy.
It's right across the street.
Yeah.
right.
And that's the last site, isn't it? Not for development in
On College?
in Hamilton.
No. The Theory was in Hamilton, 1107.
So I'm talking about
1107
on Main. Yeah.
That is the only site you'll get. Like we actually did one called 77 Leland. That's around the school too. But that site there, where right now it's trading in the resale world. The studio is about 450. And they're about 350 square feet. So they're like 15 a foot.
Right.
And we're selling 1107 at around 11 a foot. So like,
Wow.
And plus that 15 a foot property, 450 for a studio, doesn't have a washer dryer. It has a washer dryer shared accommodation downstairs.
Okay.
Right. So now this 1107.
It's not coin laundry, but it is.
It probably is coin laundry. You know?
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know.
We don't know yet. Yeah.
But I know 77 Leland doesn't have washer dryers in your room.
Oh, okay.
And they're still renting for $2,000 for a studio
Jeez.
today.
That's crazy.
Today.
That's crazy.
So,
Yeah,
Brian,
That's huge demand.
Brian, let me quickly ask you this. In terms of the target market, like we know it's the students and parents that are purchasing, but do you ever get anyone that would just buy it and move in as their principal res? Like if they're in
Some. Yeah.
I wouldn't understand why you would like live with a bunch of students, but in a scenario like, is there any value moving into a student residence as, your home? Because it's newer, I can imagine.
Well, we actually have a small separate, like small building at 1107 that's larger suites for the residents around.
Okay.
Right. Because there's a lot of old homes that are over $1 million in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And, there's downsizers that are looking for condominiums. So there is that segment too. I would say even at Theory Condos 203 College, I keep going back because it's a significant project. There's so many hospitals around that I'm sure there must be some end users there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And keep in mind, like you're living with students that are more qualified and better students. You're not working with year 1, 2, and 3s. You're living with year like 4s or like
more civilized.
Well, they're serious about their studies, right? Like you're not getting like year 1 and then they're switching programs. Like these are long-term tenants.
These guys need to get 90s and 95s.
Yeah.
And that's the only way the parents are going to fork out the money.
That's true.
Yeah, so they're not about the parties and the noise and the.
Oh, they stay away from that, man. Like if
they
you
stay away
want
from-
to stay in the program,
Yeah.
you got to be focused.
But hey, does that ever come up? Like, hey, no cooking, no hot pot in the unit, or like certain things, because it can really affect. You know what I mean? Like the food smell.
Cockroaches.
Not cockroaches,
No, there's no
but
cockroaches
it
now.
can, infiltrate the walls and the carpets. Like,
So when
Is
I
that
was doing
ever-
rentals before, sometimes if they're younger students, I would actually charge an extra $100. Like let's say the lease was $2,000. I would be like, how about 21? But we clean your place once a month.
Ooh, that's smart.
Yeah, because they're not going to clean.
Of course not. Of course not.
Right. So you might as well charge the extra $100.
We've seen some. I've seen some adults living in certain buildings, and they don't even clean after themselves, let alone kids. Right. So that's actually pretty
hey,
smart.
but we all know it's a really good excuse to actually go in and check in on the property. Like,
Well,
from time to
especially
time,
with students,
schedule.
like I think that's a really good idea. I've never thought of that.
So you charge them
Well,
$100.
I'm not doing the cleaning, but
You hire.
you
You gotta
tell
get
the guy,
someone.
hey, make sure you check it too. Yes.
Yeah, but at least you
It's
protect the
dual
right,
purpose.
right? At least you protect the right to go in and just do a quick look around.
Well, not only that, it also makes sure gunk doesn't get, piled up on
Piled
top.
up. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Because you got to keep your property clean. When it's clean, it's going to become better in the long run. And that's why we include furniture, because when you do furniture, you're actually not moving furniture in and out every year or every 2-3 years, whatever. Right? So the furniture stays, because actually in condominiums, the most damages are caused in moving.
The move in or the move out. Yeah.
Yeah.
In and out,
So like
yeah.
if you avoid all that, your property becomes better.
That's true.
And you know what's the best thing about some of the best thing about student housing is they're going to leave in 2-3 years.
Yeah.
So you can turn over.
Bingo.
I know there's this whole
Yeah,
like
you're right.
rental protection and you don't need to protect after 2018, but you always fight the tenants. It's 2018. This is built after 2018.
Right.
I can do this.
Here's the new rent. Here's
the
the
new
rate.
rent.
Yeah.
But in student housing, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
It's just gonna go up.
They're out.
That's like music to my ears.
Yeah.
To some extent,
for
because-
investors,
yeah,
like,
for
I mean,
investors,
it's
gold.
perfect,
That's
right?
amazing.
Yeah.
So with the student housing that you furnish, how often do you refresh the furniture then? Because after a while, it gets pretty ratty.
So in our company, like what my builders actually do is they pre-buy extra furniture, so they can sell it back
Okay.
to the owners because they run the property, so we actually pre-buy stuff.
Okay.
Right. So we know things are going to get damaged.
Right.
We just say, hey, owners, like we bought it for $400. It's $400.
Okay. That's
know.
really smart. Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Well, when you're doing it in scale, like you got to think of things ahead of time.
Right.
Mhm.
You gotta beat people to the punch.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, can you be honest? Do you own any black lights going through some of the properties and furniture, making sure?
No, I don't. I do not own a
I
black
will
light.
not.
No, he's
I will
renting.
not
He's
try.
renting the students that play video games. They don't have girls coming over.
This is exactly why.
That's
you
That's what exactly
I
what
see,
I
I
mean. You never know.
I don't know why you would do it, but like I would never. You do you.
Yeah, what are you trying to find?
What do you
bring your own linens?
like?
man.
What if you do find something? What are you gonna say? Like, oh,
But you have a cleaner.
yeah,
Fair
I'm not
enough.
cleaning.
Fair
It's their
enough.
problem. Yeah.
It's just part of the due diligence.
no, I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to know.
I think this is you wanting to go in and just.
No. Because once you get to a certain point, it's like, wow, this furniture's gotta leave.
Well, you're not sitting on it.
No, it's true. It's true.
The new tenant is coming in and be like, "Oh, that's a nice couch."
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
it's not. It looks clean. On the surface, it looks all right.
Certain stains
Yeah.
cannot get out.
Brian, where do you think the market
So out of
outlook,
pocket.
what do you think the market outlook is for student renting in the future? Like, I mean, it's popping up everywhere, but land is getting scarce and scarce. So there's not much more you can really build around a campus. So, where is this headed?
Well, there's still a lot of areas where, you can build around schools, right? So Hamilton, yes, there's only one. And, downtown Hamilton's kind of growing and everybody's selling the LRT that's going to come. They have funding now.
Yeah,
so, but, our site is next door. And again, the walking distance is the key. So the next few locations I would say is London, Ontario, because there's a shortage there.
Which is Western, right?
Western.
Yeah, Western.
Western.
They have all the different
Right.
halls right now.
Waterloo's always great.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
of
saturated though.
course.
Come on.
It is saturated, and the
Waterloo.
rental market starts in September 1st.
Yeah.
That's where I kind of started my career too on
Yeah.
the student stuff.
Yeah.
Kingston, Ontario is always good.
Queens U.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Queens is really good.
Yeah, you got to just stay around the top universities. York University.
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
And help out a lot actually. So with the Finch LRT line that's being installed right now, it's going to help a lot.
Well, actually, the people at York University now, you would think they live along
Highway 7, right?
now they live on Highway 7.
Yeah.
They live at my building Treddy in Nordic.
All
Right. They
yes.
live
Yeah,
along the
Treddy at
Yeah,
at
it's Wilson. Correct.
Yeah,
They live around those condos now because
Yeah.
that's the closest accommodation.
that's true.
Like kind of like in London, my site that's coming in London is not next to the university because the university west, like I don't know if you guys been there, it's basically an island.
Mm-hmm.
And you like for you to get into school, it's like a half an hour walk for anybody.
Where's this, sorry?
London, Ontario.
London, Ontario. Western.
Right, Weston. So our site is actually 200 Albert Street. So it's actually where all the students live and where all the parties go on and stuff like that.
Barney's. You still go to Barney's?
No, not parties. Parties.
Oh, I know. But Barney's is on the Wellington in London.
Oh, I've actually never been there to Barney's.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, it's just a
Barney's.
It's just a
What's
pub.
Barney's?
They know Steve by first name, man. Like, Steve, welcome
know?
back.
Pretty sure Barney's is still there.
Yeah, Barney's still there for
Yeah.
sure.
It's a pub,
just
right?
it's a pub. It's a pub. Beer.
Is that on St. Catherine Street? Or
No,
is that-
it's on
is that
Wellington.
Richmond?
It's on Wellington, one of the main arteries.
So you guys went to school.
I always visit.
Oh, you visited.
Yeah,
You
I
visited.
still do every year. Just go to Rib Fest, London, Ontario. Yeah.
Oh,
Nice.
They have
You
Rib
know.
Fest here.
I have no reason to go back there. I used to, but no longer.
It's not built the same.
But so you understand like the
Mustang
shortage of
forever.
schools. So like, what was your experience on finding housing if you went to London?
Well, no, I went to London because my ex-girlfriend was there. But
Oh, how was
Yeah.
her experience? Do you remember, or did she ever
it
tell
was
you?
it was very similar. So I remember back then they had to rent for 12 months, not 8 months. So they had to rent for the whole year. So very similar. And then during the summer months, whether or not they have summer school or whatnot, they just come back home for the summer months. And that entire suite, basement, whatever it is, it's just empty for a couple months. And then they come back September and they just do the same thing.
We packed it, and all the girlfriends too. It was nasty, man.
You guys had curtains, right?
We had cotton curtain.
You should run a black light through that.
Yeah, exactly, man.
I stayed over for a bit.
Dude, I paid
That
more for the
unit
room.
must be
I was like, no, I'm not
nasty
doing
as
that. Yeah, it's like my 4 roommates plus their girlfriends
they're
and one shower.
nasty.
Yeah,
I don't know how you
rough.
guys did that, but that's
student,
a
man.
grind.
paying
Hey, that's all.
We split $200 each. I mean, come on.
Hey, that's all the privacy you can afford back then.
Yeah.
Just a cotton.
Yeah, actually, in
cotton
New York
curtain,
City,
man.
you can rent a wall.
A what?
What?
You can rent a wall.
Come again?
So you rent an apartment, and this is what students do that down in New York City. You rent a wall. So you rent a wall for a year, right? Because you got to put the place back to normal. You
Okay.
can't build a wall and unbuild it, right? So you
Oh.
rent a wall. So they have these like prefab walls
Mm-hmm.
where they put in. It's like
For
$1,000
privacy. For privacy.
No, so you actually get a wall. Yeah, you get a
Okay.
real privacy.
But
You get a
removable,
baseboard.
right?
Removable, yeah, because a prefab removable wall. So you can make your 1 bedroom into, I guess, 6 or 7 if you really wanted
Like
to,
what we
right?
did, yeah. Instead
Just
of
rent
cots,
6 walls,
get
right?
the wall, slice it up.
Yeah, renting walls, $1,000 a wall. That's prefab, and you
Business
install.
model right here. Yeah.
There's a business.
Should build it into the pitch for some of these investors.
Oh,
Like, hey,
I see. As the builder, on the builder side, we can't do this.
okay.
We
going
can't
down.
even. We can't even say like we can't even have an extra tenant in the den. Yeah,
We're-
like a lot of these living rooms are bedrooms.
Yeah,
now.
we're
I
not
dens are
recommending
bedrooms.
this.
Let's be honest. Right now, these dens are now junior 2 bedrooms.
Yeah.
Right, that's just how the market has grown to.
I noticed that they've relabeled those.
I know.
Like
yeah,
the 1
yeah.
plus dens are now like junior 2 beds.
Junior twos. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's where the market's grown to, right? Like,
Yeah. For
and,
sure.
and then space is going to get tighter and tighter as the city grows,
Mhm.
as expenses go up, right? Like people have to live in smaller accommodations
Mhm.
because there's no choice.
But yeah, we are coming a little bit short on time. So how about we just kind of end off on things on, like, obviously right now rates are high. We still have that housing shortage. We have a ton of students. We've talked about this before. What is your general outlook? Like, do you still feel that student housing is still going to be a good investment for a lot of the buyers and investors now going forward versus condos? What's your take? It's still safe?
Well, student housing is the safest market, as we mentioned earlier, right?
Okay. Yeah.
You're always going to get your rent at 0% vacant,
Mhm.
and tenants are going to move in and out, and there's always a demand for schooling,
Yeah.
right? Like everybody wants their kids to go to school.
So if it was up to you, right now you have some money, you want to invest, you'd go into student housing versus like a regular condo.
What's safer? Like, let's be honest. If you buy, anywhere in GTA, you're other than student housing, you're really hoping that the market's going to go up,
Of course.
right? You're buying
You're buying for
pre-construction
that
condos.
that appreciation. That's what you're looking for.
Correct. But in the student housing market, you don't need that.
It's still going to go up still,
Correct. It's still going to go up,
but you're still getting that quality tenant.
you're getting the quality tenant. And not only that, you're making sure that you can sustain yourself and collect rent,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the problem right now is people buy, and then the cash flow is not there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you may be out 2-3 months in rent. And the 2-3 months is hurting
Oh, it hurts a lot.
people, right?
Especially in today's climate with like the high interest rates, it hurts a lot.
Yeah. But now if okay, even if you're not getting, covering your mortgage today,
Mm-hmm.
because usually these student housing projects, like at the end of the day, there's a building cost. So there's a minimum
course.
that they can sell for, right?
Yeah.
So the cash flow is not there today for anyone,
Mhm.
for any project.
Right.
But I can promise you, these student housing projects at 4%, they break even.
Mhm.
4% interest rates.
Interest rates and whatnot.
Can you
yeah.
say that about other projects?
Like, you know what? I think there's one benefit in student housing that I do see just based off of the conversation we're having now is a lot of the condos now, like, you know, people are buying, they got to find a tenant. They want a good tenant. We've all known someone to have really bad tenants and they're like deadbeat tenants and they don't pay and then problems with this and that. I think with students, very, very rare because it's their parents that are renting it for their kids and they don't want their kids to be homeless. That's my take, at least.
Hey, Brian, I got 2 questions for you. So devil's advocate, what if I need to move on in terms of like, can you touch on like liquidity? Like I'm done with the rental market. My kid's out of school. I got to, you know, cash out. How is that? And also parking can you touch on parking as well?
So what happens if you want to move on? You actually sell it to somebody else that can't find accommodations. It happens a lot. Actually, in Waterloo or anywhere around student universities, people cannot find accommodation, and then they have to buy accommodation for their kids. Right. So they end up buying a 2-bedroom and renting one. You know,
well, they become the new investors.
Yeah, they become the new investor. Yeah. Kind of like one of my kids living here, and then I'll give my kids some responsibility and rent out the other room. Mm-hmm. Right. That's kind of how it goes.
Okay.
So there's a clear exit strategy. It's pretty.
The problem about it is your exit strategy is only those few months. So you can't sell during, you know, right now, you can't sell in December.
Right.
You can't sell anything right now. Mm-hmm. But, you know, like in student housing, you can only sell during like spring.
Or just before. Yeah, just before the...
No, it's actually just after.
Oh, really?
Because you're still trying to rent. By September 10, 15, people get desperate and they're like, fuck, I gotta buy.
Oh. I thought it would be easier to like sell it before you get a tenant or sell it with a tenant.
It's both. It's kind of
either
both.
Or.
Well, selling with a tenant is always a problem, as you guys always know.
Yeah. When I used to do rentals downtown, it was gross, man. You show like a tenanted home, especially around the college area, like University of Toronto. It was like they had their stuff everywhere.
I dread showing like student housing because like I know some of these students, when they're home, they're nasty. Like they have food everywhere, like containers and stuff.
Yeah.
Pots and pans, like just not.
The whole clean thing makes a lot of sense.
I like that $100. Yeah. That's amazing.
I've seen toilet bowls just gross.
It kind of smells like the.
I don't know how they live like that.
Kindergarten corridor at schools.
How'd you live like that?
Curtain.
I'm just kidding.
Once you close the curtain,
who's responsible? Who's responsible for cleaning the washroom?
We made a schedule. We didn't stick to it, but there was a schedule. Right? So
hey, but Brian, in terms of parking, though, can you touch on that as well? Like in terms of
parking's like everything else. It's always good to have.
Yeah, it's high demand.
Always good to have, and when you have a parking spot, you're probably getting a better tenant,
right?
True. Because they can afford it. They can afford a car, or their parents buying them a car or whatever. But if they can afford a car, they're probably wealthier and they're a better tenant. So it's always like, just like buying any other condo or property, is good to have, but not necessary.
Mm-hmm. Especially if it's walking distance to a school, like they might not need it. From an investor's point of view, it's like, oh, I don't need to spend that extra 20, however much it is now, 25, 30, 60, depending on where it is, because it's 5 minutes walk away from the school. Sure, you can save that money, but you can also get that better tenant. So,
and the rents are the same. Like a parking spot out of town is like $200.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Hey, and okay, Brian, last question for me. In terms of financing, if I'm an investor, do I have any issues with, say, the big 5 banks? For student housing versus a condo or traditional.
If you buy a house, yes, because the banks will not finance rooming housing.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Right, but as a condominium, we market. We as a developer, we never market student housing. We let you guys do that.
Yeah,
right.
We just say it's a regular condo.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
That's right. Yes. And then we give you a rental guarantee, which you actually submit that paperwork to your mortgage guy.
Yeah.
And then, you actually have income already.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. And then we make sure you get the lease and everything. So it actually helps with your banking. Another point I wanted to touch on is, even though this market is like, who's getting into student housing is the institutions. The big institutions, they're the ones actually buying buildings. If you look at actually Jarvis and Carlton, the southwest corner used to be a hotel, right? A big institution bought it. I think it's Blackstone, Black Knight. I forgot their name.
BlackRock.
BlackRock. There you go. And now they're renting the whole building out as student housing, right? So the big institutions are becoming these players because it's a safe investment, right? Like, let's be honest, like there's a time to take risks and there's a time to be safe.
Yeah.
And right now in the market today, everybody wants to be safe.
For sure.
There's a big there's a big trend in even developers after they build, they keep it for themselves as a rental. Not necessarily affordable housing, but
Depends, yeah.
maybe luxury rental.
Correct. Yeah, there's a trend going towards that way because the rental market's so strong. And, you know, at the end of the day, like, you know, holding your assets is better than making quick money for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right? Like you probably advise your clients to hold asset if you can. Keep holding. You have a mortgage, keep it. Because trying to get another mortgage is not easy.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Very tough.
Because in a better market, any developer, they're able to, because they can turn it into a condo and then sell it off, you know.
Flip it out.
Yeah. So how they always do it is they always condominiumize it in the beginning. Even if it's a rental building, they condominiumize it.
Right.
So they protect their assets in the future. If they want to and need to, they can sell it. Right.
And partially too. They don't have
Correct.
to
You
sell the whole thing.
partially sell units at a time instead of, you know, the whole building.
So are the so these projects that you do with the student housing, do they do have basically the accommodations and amenities that a regular condo would have?
Correct.
And they have a security at the front,
Correct.
concierge at the front.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's
I mean,
It's a regular condo.
Haven't you
It's a regular
visited like
condo, yeah.
buildings like Aura or the ones on like Bay
no,
Street?
I'm talking about like more like the outtown ones. Like,
yeah,
I
no,
don't
but what I
know
mean
if-
is they develop it like condos.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
even
then
in Kingston,
it's more
Ontario.
targeted.
Yeah,
it's
so
targeted to
in that
students.
sense, like I mean,
because
a
of
lot of
Student
investors
focused, but
can
anyone
be-
can live there.
Correct.
Anyone can
Yeah.
live there.
Yeah. So basically, I'm trying to gear the question more towards like, you know, the listeners that are hearing this, like, you know, they don't have to worry because again, there's another layer of security, another layer of
because there are a
someone
lot
looking
of
after
end
the
users
building.
that actually live there too.
We actually
End users
upgrade our
and whatnot,
securities more
Yeah.
because the parents are worried.
Mm-hmm.
So nowadays we're putting like cameras in the back doors and like all the hallways.
Good. Yeah, that's good for
kind of thing.
listeners to know. Just you know, for these type of
Yeah.
projects,
The 24
If they
hours
are-
concierge.
Yeah, if
always,
they're-
you
if
know.
They're
they're
not all
to invest,
24.
at least
There's a
they're-
math. There's a math on concierge. Like,
Right.
you know, if you want 24 hours, it's going to cost, you know, X amount.
Yeah.
If you only do like part-time 8 hours, it depends on the area.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Hamilton, we're doing 24 because it's Hamilton.
Yeah.
Right. Like no matter where you are in Hamilton, it's still Hamilton.
You would need that
Right?
24.
And it depends on the size of the building. In
quite
Kingston,
different
Ontario,
sometimes.
we're doing part-time. We're doing like, I think it's usually like 12 hours.
It's pretty quiet there, so it's a very
Yeah.
different market than Hamilton.
There's no
Yeah.
crime rates. Like,
yeah,
You know, so like it just depends on the building,
that's true.
right? Like Waterloo, we also don't do full-time concierge because it's not needed,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? Like the concierge is for you to pick up packages,
right.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you don't really need
So
that.
it's good to know that, like at the very least, people like your investment is safe because they're well taken care of.
Well, and we as a developer side, we have to think about the long term,
Yeah,
you know, of the building.
Of course.
Because after we sell it, we have to rent it.
yeah. Because
Not
you're
like-
not just like sell it and gone. Like
No, that's like a
You're-
normal
you're-
condo.
you're-
Like
you're
you sell
always
it,
there.
you're gone,
yeah,
right? But us, we
these
have to
ones.
sell it and then rent it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have to make sure we have these things to make sure that they're rented, or else we actually lose money.
That's right. Well, we're coming up to the time, and we really want to thank Brian for being with us today.
Yeah, man.
And just
Thank
kind of
you.
discussing
That's great
student
information.
housing
Thank
and
you.
whatnot. Yeah,
No problem.
absolutely. And just a quick plug. Please subscribe if you like our content. Follow
Comments.
us.
Yes.
Leave us comments. Tell us what you want to hear next time. I mean, we always want to hear. And of course, we're going to tag Brian and RDS.
Thank you.
So definitely. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right,
guys for the
Brian.
invitation.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
guys.
guys.
All right.
Bye.